People see that okay? Cool. All right, there's going to be a bit of a delay, so my voice may come through faster. But so I have the final project assignment there. That starts today and runs for the next, from this week, 4 weeks, including this week. So it's going to be today will be a lab class as was planned. Next week's a lab class. Well, basically until the end it's a lab class. And then you submit on the final week. So I'll be there in the final week, hopefully with weather and all that stuff. To help you guys submit, get things ready. If there's any last minute questions, kind of stuff like that, we'll sort it out there. Okay, so anyone? Can people read that document? Yeah. I mean, it's going to be up on GitHub. Let me copy paste this word right now. Sorry, that's my machine with the background. Copy this into Discord. Some exercises. Project. So that's in Discord in exercises. Week 6. Okay. Let me just copy paste that and put that into Discord. Give me 2 seconds. Sex exercise, and then did someone say that it was missing in YouTube? Okay, let me double check that for you. Okay, so the theme is Dredge. I don't know if anyone's been playing, but there's a game called Dredge. It's like a little indie game, and there is like a little boat that you can go around. It's kind of like horror-ish. There's like some terrifying stuff going on in it, but it's also quite chill. You're just going around kind of like collecting stuff, trying to survive, and upgrading your little ship. So that's the actual game. I don't actually need to use a game that's a copy or whatever, or based on mechanics. I'm just giving you a theme. So you can do it so it's based in the world of the actual game Dredge. You can do it so it's something else. You can do it anything related to that theme. I have a few requirements in there. So some of the requirements are listed. Number 1, you need to use NavMesh in some way. It doesn't mean you only can use NavMesh for pathfinding, but in some way you use NavMesh. You're going to use ProBuilder for some stuff. So whether that's to make levels or whatever it is, you're using ProBuilder. I want to see state machines for the NPCs or enemies, and that's as simple as having a switch function where it's like, oh, if this, then do this, if this, and do that. You know, like patrol here if this, and then if aggro, do this. If you remember the kind of AI class we had, use of raycast to detect anything. So that can be enemies using raycast to see whether they can see the player. That can be the player using raycast to see if they're in range of the enemies. It doesn't matter. It can be raycast from screen to detect stuff. I don't mind. All of that stuff is fine. Use of animations or animated state machines. So that is transitioning between different types of animations that we showed in earlier classes. Use of triggers or collision detection to activate and detect physics of motion. And if you remember that, that's using either a trigger or so either on trigger enter, on trigger exit, or on collision enter, on collision exit, essentially detecting physics collisions. Now, whether that's a gun hitting something or you are taking damage if you like knock into something, that's up to you. Use of UI to denote score or other information, actually, then you edit that. So it doesn't have to be score. So if your game that doesn't have score, that's fine. Score or other player relevant information. So any of that stuff. And then finally a high concept document. So if you remember, we did high concept in class 1. So basically a simple like PDF with that basic high concept stuff, as if you were trying to sell this game to someone, or it's on a Steam page or whatever it is, and then with screenshots and pictures, etc. And then the last bit I'm going to add is I want to see a 30-second to 1 minute trailer slash game. Okay, any questions? Yeah. Not at all. No, no, no. It's just a theme. It's completely a theme. You could be like Dredge, and the game's about like scouring the bottom of a river to find bicycles. It doesn't matter. I don't care what. I just want to see what you do with the interpretation from the game design perspective of the word Dredge. Um, Actually, think of a few more questions because I need to pop down and let someone in. Just give me 5 minutes. But if think of any questions, and I'll be back in 2 seconds. Is that okay? Okay, see you guys in a second. Sorry, everyone. I'm back. So, do you have any questions related to the assignment? Okay, so usually from a design perspective, I really don't care as long as it's fun. So usually, there are games where it's single screen, like Overcooked or something, right? And if you're playing a game like that where it's single screen, there's no other like stuff showing up. It's literally just um, it's just players on the same screen. The fun is still there. It doesn't really matter what the map size is. So I'm kind of looking at it from that perspective. Yeah, yeah, sure, sure. That's fine. That's fine. As long as the gameplay works. Yeah, or some sort of thing connected to the word dredge. It doesn't have to be the game. It doesn't have to be anything. Yeah. Any other questions? E- yes, actually, let me put that in here. References to any assets used from some sources. So just doesn't matter whether it's. I mean, yes, if it's like a tutorial or something like that that you found online and want to use, then yes, ideally you should probably tell me. You should probably tell me that. Yeah, yeah. Is that all good? Sorry, could you can use, so you don't have to use even Pro Builder for anything like. I just want to see use of Pro Builder. It doesn't have to be for the levels. It can be for elements. It can be for objects because Pro Builder will allow you to save it as a prefab. So it doesn't matter. It can be like for a box or something. I just want to see that you know how to use it. Yeah, yeah. Anything else? Up to you. That's the difficult part. That's the difficult part. I would suggest trying to design it so there, because it's going to be a small, short game, where you only have 4 weeks. I would suggest to design it that there is a goal, or at the very least, something that's endless. So something like we talked about Cookie Clicker, where you're constantly trying to get more and more and more and more and more stuff, but you're upgrading yourself so you can get more stuff. You're upgrading yourself so you can get more stuff so you can upgrade yourself more. That sort of thing. So either or, either you have like a set finish or it constantly runs forever and never finishes. Yeah, I mean, kind of. Yeah, like there's animations that you see that like that they kind of like change what they do depending on the number that the player has reached. So they change like what they look like. They kind of change how they animate. They kind of change what they do. There are like little things that they do have collision detection. So they kind of like attack the cookie, but they're not like right. They don't overlap and stuff like that. So there are some state machines in there. Like it doesn't have to be a super complicated one. But whatever it is, just something. It can even be like I've seen people do it on the UI layer where they have like a little robot that's on the UI that like does little things depending on how well you're doing. That makes sense? Yeah, don't care. 3D or 2D. Okay. Um, if there are any other questions that like people think of later, just put them in Discord. I am also going to show you a couple things today. One is this thing called Mixamo. I don't know if people have seen this. So I know we don't have a lot of animators here. I showed you how to animate in Unity, sort of like with the using the animation tool. And with that, you can change sprites. You can change like translation and stuff like that. You can make things move around. All of that stuff works. You can do that. But also, um, you have this thing called Mixamo. Now, this is free from Adobe. You need to make a free login. And they have characters and animations. Now, the problem with this is you're stuck with these characters. But what you can do is you can upload any character that's humanoid. It has to be humanoid. So it has to have 2 arms, 2 legs, a head. And when you go to animations, you can upload this character here. And it should be able to rig it. I'm going to see if I can find an older character of mine. Let's see if I have one. Not sure if I will. I'm going to try this. I don't know if this is going to work. So I modeled this, but you can also get any kind of humanoid character from like Turbo Squid or the Asset Store. Usually the FBX is what you want. Oh, that looks good. Okay, perfect. So that was the model. I didn't rig this. I didn't animate this. It automatically detected where the elbows are, where the hands are, where the fingers are, where the head is. And I think I can edit stuff. Ooh, never mind. But this automatically rigged it for me. So what I can do then with this, so I can use one of their characters, but this is my own character. So this is literally what I look like in the 3D model. And so it is rigged now, but I can then go grab these animations and you can see that it's using my character. It's not perfect. See, the fingers are not perfect. It doesn't really grab the fingers correctly. But overall, it's pretty good for something that works without needing any work. Like, this is pretty difficult to do, like to rig and animate. It's like a whole thing. It takes my students like at least 2-3 weeks. But with this, I can use a bunch of different animations, and I can use my own character or their own characters and upload that. Is that okay? Does that make sense? So once I'm done with this, I can then download. And when I download, this comes in FBX with skin. Let's download that. Let me bring it into Unity. Let's put it desktop. It's not sitting. Let's go back to Unity. Final projects. Import new asset. And this is how it comes in. So this is the model itself, okay? There. Let's see. Where's the model? There's the model itself. But the animation is here. So there's mixamo.com animation. So I can then go into the animator, if you remember the animator. So this one, we have an animation, so it's not the animator. Let's create the controller for create controller. Let's put that here. And then I can drag the animation from the project from here there. So let me press play. Hopefully this works. I think that's the right one. I need to rename it. Yeah, so you see it's doing that animation. Sorry. I probably need to set it to loop as well. So that's in here, the animation. There's the Mixamo. I don't even know what this is. Oh, these are animations I made before. So Mixamo here, that's an animation. I can name that sitting. Starts from 0 to 63. Perfect. I should have named that sitting before. I want to make sure it loops. So that's loop time on. Let's apply. It's called sitting now. Window. Let me delete that because we added. So it's sitting. Cool. It's called sitting. There's speed and stuff that I can control, whether I'm mirroring it. I haven't done any transitions yet. It's just starting with that. So in the scene, that's what it is. So let's try another animation. So make sure we can understand how to work multiple animations. Let's try this one, walking with rifle. So let's download that one. Start walking with rifle. Import new asset. Nope. Cool. Just make sure I go to the animation panel. Mixamo, and it's called walking with rifle. And make sure that it does loop. Hi. Just like a little preview here. Perfect. So that's working. It's animating. Ideally, actually, I shouldn't have it move. I should try and find an animation where they're walking in place instead of moving, because this is kind of annoying because it's going to move away from the center point. But just for the purposes of today, this is fine. So there it is, walking with rifle. Go back to the animator, drag that in, and now we can do transitions. Transition to this, and I can transition back. Let's look at the scene. Let's play. It should transition to that. And you see it's kind of smooth. It transitions smoothly with the snap. So I can have multiple animations, and then if you remember how we did these, we can have the parameters and conditions, so it changes the animation, which animation it wants to do based on our conditions. Does that kind of make sense for animation? You can also make your own animations. The concept's similar. If you make your own animations, you can also import everything as one giant animation like this. For example, I think I created this. This has like idle, some have walking, yeah, it has running, and they're all one long animation. But you can cut them up, so you can be like, so I think it's from 0 to 2. Not sure what that is. Yeah, and then that's looping now. So 0 to 100. That's looping. So I'm cutting out of one giant animation. If that makes sense. So you can do that as well. Or you can import each animation individually, which is what I was doing. Any questions on this? I know that was a lot too. Okay. Aside from that, if people remember, you can also animate. You don't have to do fancy animations. Actually, do a cube. So you can see. So let's see. Animation. Let's create and the similar, what I showed you was that you can animate by dragging in sprites, but you can also animate 3D objects. Let me make a little child here. No, so. And what I can also do is I can animate any children of stuff. So small. Okay, cool. So I'm animating this. This is where the animator is. Actually, I should make it empty parents. Let's do this. Let's take the animator off of this. Okay, so I kind of want it on an empty so that I don't screw with any kind of like physics or whatever. So I just have the animator on an empty. So with that, let's record, and then I can do stuff like the cube. Alright, so separately. So you can also animate like this, and that works fine as well. So this for very simple animations. If you're doing a very stylized game, you can do that, and then create a clip, make a different animation. And the same thing, all the animations will show up in the animator window for Q. Okay, so there's multiple ways. You can either get animations online, you can animate within Unity, or you can do your own animations if you've done 3D modeling and stuff like that before. But I do think it's quite a lot of work. Okay, and then is it okay if I show you one last thing before I let you go? This is, let's close this. I'm going to save that, and I'll push that after this class. Let's see. So, I think this would work. So Unity also has this thing called HDRP, which I think I've said to you before, and HDRP is the high definition rendering pipeline. HDRP is a completely different pipeline to the basic Unity. Now it's a lot more intense. It needs basically can only run on consoles or PlayStation or whatever it is. It doesn't run on anything else. It needs you to have your target platform has to be PC. It also means you can't export from WebGL, meaning that if you want to have something like there's a game site called itch.io. A lot of people put their games on there. Itch.io, and there's loads of little games. Some of them you have to download. Some of them you can play directly in the browser. I wonder if I can search by playing in the browser. Now, a lot of these you have to download. But there's a thing. Oh yeah, well this one here, web. What? You don't know? Yeah, perfect. So if in Unity, if you export for WebGL, you can play it in browser. Can you guys hear the audio or no? Okay, there's all sorts of stuff here. Okay, it doesn't matter, but let's say done. So this whole thing is playing in browser now. Left to right arrows. But usually it's simpler games that aren't very complicated. They don't have a lot of like rendering or fancy stuff in there that will run in browser. But it is very good if you are trying to get a game design or development portfolio, having games playable in browser, because then a recruiter can just play your game without having to download it and stuff. So that's great if you have a simpler game. If you don't, like if you're using something like HDRP, you'll probably have to make them download it. Let's see if I have a sample scene. Open scene. So this is HDRP, and it's a whole thing. It's a whole different thing. Basically, this is like Unity's version of fan-3 rendering. I don't know if you can kind of see that in Discord. It's probably not the best, but the visuals are changing. Just like HDR, lighting. I can press play. You can have a look at it. You can see this like reflection, real-time reflections. There's these things called decals. That has loads of like detail. It's PBR. This is a Unity sample scene, by the way. If you create a Unity HDRP project, you can ask for the sample scene to be included. And then have a look at the lighting as we pass into here. So you see the way it kind of gets brighter, and when I'm further away, it's like darker around it. It has post-processing. It has stuff like occlusion, and I don't know if people know, but there's like VFX graph. These butterflies are all VFX graph. There's particle systems up here. There's volumetric lighting. So if you look at the light, it's affected by the. It doesn't just cast shadow. It actually has like fog almost. That looks. It has volume. It's not just like light and shadow. There's bloom. You can kind of see there's a glow around the corner. And then again, if you look at it, while I'm in the bright light, that area here is very dark. As I move closer towards it, it kind of like brightens up. This is HDR, real-time lighting. All of this is running in real time. I'm obviously playing in real time as well. This is emissive lighting. So like this is like a strip, but it glows and it kind of like has reflections and stuff. You see the floor, so that's reflecting. It's like it's like realistic lighting. Same with here. That's all reflecting properly because usually you wouldn't get this. Usually you would get just kind of like reflections of lights only. This is reflecting, I guess, like intensity as well. It's reflecting brightness, not just a point light or a source light. Cool. So you kind of see this is really good HDRP. How it works, it has these things called volumes. When we look at the volumes, it's a global volume, and each of the volumes has options in it. So basically, you can have volumes for each room. So this, let's see if we can find volume. See, like that volume is denoting. So basically, in room 1, it's using specific effects here, white balance exposure. So it's using specific effects only for room 1, and then the same for room 2, room 3, and then there's a global, and global affects everything. So you can just use global volume. And what a global volume is you literally create an empty game object and add a volume component. You need to have HDRP, of course. And then set it to global mode, and then these are all the options that you can have. You can add an override, you can have more options, post-processing. We can do, okay, it doesn't have chromatic aberration, let's add that. We can just add that, let's do the intensity super high. And can you see like the edges of the screen now have like this, looks like a Blade Runner kind of thing. I don't know if you can tell that. Down here. So we turn it off and on. So that's like a post-processing effect. And I can keep adding as much as I want. Let's see what else we got. Post-processing. Let's do a vignette. There's no vignette here. So vignette is basically darker edges. Let's pop that up. You can kind of see that. And these can be animated as well. So you can have this as like a damage animation, for example. So these stack, all these post-processing effects stack. And you can turn them off. So like reflection, for example, I think if I go to, let's go to the reflection area here, global, I think SSRR will turn off the, it's very difficult to kind of tell. We can turn off bloom, so if you look at the glow here, that will turn off. So bloom is very good for like glow around like light objects. Ambient occlusion, you probably can't see the screen. If you notice the contact shadows here, especially here and here, if I turn that on and off, you can see the shadows disappearing. I'm not sure you can see that. Ambient occlusion is basically for contact shadows. Even though there's a thing called contact shadows, it kind of does the same. We got fog, which is a volumetric kind of fog. Fog is like, I zoom out, you can kind of see things have fog. So things far away are more foggy. That's in the fog there. Sky, tone mapping, all this kind of stuff, it's all here. And again, if you add override, you can add it, it'll just start working. There's a bunch of other stuff in here we're not going to go over. There's like reflection probes and lights and shit like that. You don't need to worry about that, okay? Don't worry too much with reflection probes and light probes and stuff like that. They're kind of more advanced. You probably don't need to worry about it unless you're very well versed in it. And if you are very well versed in it, you know what they are for. You could just use most of the basic kind of like post-processing stuff here. Now that's if you want a really fancy looking game. You don't have to use this. There is post-processing URP, and HDRP is just like a different level of visual fidelity. Okay. All right. Any questions? No? Everyone understand the assignments? Okay. So what I'm going to say is, I'm going to stop recording.